Hello, my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto News coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making investment decisions. We're going to begin today by looking at the total crypto market cap, and it's coming at $1.11 trillion, and it is up 1.1%. Bitcoin is coming in at number one at 26,786. Ethereum is coming in at number two at 1,638. Now, beloved XRP is coming in at number five at 50 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, it looks like it's mostly green, and the top gainer is XEC, up 16.9%. Taking a look at the fear and greed index, and we are now in fear at 46. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Riz XRP and John Dean from Crypto Lore. Riz writes, it's time for a change. Gary Gensler is a cancer. And I believe they're quoting John Dean. Let me play the video.
I'm at the point now where I'm frustrated, and I know you are, because enough of the damn letters, man. It is time to issue subpoenas, congressional subpoenas, where they do not get complied with. You get a court order, you send the marshal down there to start bringing people in before the committee. It's rarely done. I don't know why. It's why I hate Democrats and Republicans together equally, because they seem to almost have this unwritten rule. Well, we won't go that far. We'll write letters and we'll pontificate and we'll engage in rhetoric, but we're not going to actually institute some type of change. It is time for that. Gary Gensler is a cancer on the American economy. He is a cancer on innovation. And it's not just him, but he's the head of the SEC. They're leading the fight. It is time to get him out of there by putting pressure and real oversight.
And I cannot agree more. 100%. And speaking of that cancer, Gary Gensler, shout out to Digital Asset Investor, writes, whoa, to be idiot goes nuclear on Gary. Let me play the video.
Like, Gensler's just a liar, right? I've been on this for 2 years. He's just, there's no other way to say it. He's corrupt and he's a liar. It's not that he's making bad decisions. The SEC should go after scammers. They should go after bad actors. And you know what?
That's already against the law. You don't need to do laws to punish fraud.
It's already against the law, but you know what? Gensler, if you want to do your job and be a hero, why don't you catch Voyager, Celsius, Genesis, FTX instead of hosting them in your office because they're political donors, and do your fucking job instead of just going after celebrities, right? That's why people can't stand him. It's not that he's mean or that, oh, we're trying to leverage regulatory arbitrage. It's that he is corrupt, he is dishonest, and he is completely captured by an anti-crypto senator who has outsized influence in this administration, Elizabeth Warren. That's just reality. So,
again, 100% agree. That is just nothing but truth bombs being put out here. Okay, moving on. Stuart Alderati joining CEO Brad Garlinghouse on stage at MAINNET. Get your popcorn ready, and this is coming up just in a few days. This is why I'm putting it out there. MAINNET is September 20th to the 22nd, so just in a few days. And I am hoping, not that it's going to happen, but I'm hoping to get some good news. So when we go to the proper party, we're really amped up. All right, but time will tell. We'll see. Moving on. Shout out to John Dean. He is responding to Wheezy, who wrote FTX parents need to be arrested for being complicit. And he writes the DOJ is 100% compromised. And like the SEC, as well as almost every other federal agency, needs to be cleaned out and reshaped. Make no mistake about it. If SBS fraud's parents weren't connected to Elizabeth Warren and weren't huge donors of the Democratic Party, SBS mom runs a super PAC, they would have been 100% been arrested by now. And that is so true. Okay, watch your girl put this thing out. Just in, U.S. Congressman introduces plan to ban Congress and their spouses from trading stocks. Well, it's about time. It only comes in at about 100 years too late, but we'll play the video.
That is why I'm introducing a 5-point plan. First, ban all PAC and lobbyist money to congressional campaigns. I don't take a dime of it. Second, ban completely stock trading and members of Congress from ever becoming lobbyists. Activists like Unusual Whales, Quiver Quantitative, and the leaders at Crew have been mobilizing for this. Third, term limits for members of Congress. Fourth, term limits for Supreme Court justices. And fifth, an ethics code for Supreme Court justices. This is common sense. The people demand it. It's time we give them back their government and we reform in Washington. We should have bipartisan support for this 5-point plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield.
Well, I agree with most of what he said, especially the lobbying part is basically legal bribery. Yeah, let me bring a bunch load of money to these politicians, and the next thing you know, they create law that benefits that person's company, group, organization, whatever it may be. There shouldn't be any lobbyists, and they shouldn't be members of Congress who become lobbyists after Congress, because it's all basically another corrupt game being played over and over again in Washington, and that needs to stop. Okay, moving on. Watch Your Guru has this thing out. Billionaire Mark Cuban confirms 870,000 worth of crypto stolen from his MetaMask. And we do not want to see that. Not that he is going to miss the money, being that he is a billionaire, but this is not good for the space. And if it can happen to somebody like this, who is very knowledgeable in the space, it could happen to anybody. So always be very cognizant and aware of these scammers and hackers always trying to steal people's crypto. Okay, so let's go, moving on. John Dean again. He responds to this tweet. Breaking reports are stating the ex-SEC chair and Federal Reserve Bank of New York official Norman Reed has been named the new CEO of Binance US. And John Dean writes, by the way, Katie Horn signed the settlement agreement on behalf of the DOJ. As part of the settlement, Norman Reed, on behalf of Ripple, agreed to hire an independent auditor approved by the DOJ who will provide FinCEN with an audit of all XRP sales for 5 years. Of course, pursuant to an information sharing agreement between FinCEN and SEC, the SEC had full access to all of the auditors' XRP sales reports. I've always maintained that the SEC and the U.S. government knew more about Ripple than any other company involved in crypto. That really places the lawsuit in a perspective now, doesn't it? Norman Reed not jumping ship and staying with Binance could be a positive sign, but then again, so we never know. Here we go. Whale Shark put this thing out. This is a list of all asset managers that have applied for a spot Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, VanEck, GlobalX, ARK Invest, Valkyrie, Bitwise. And they also put this list out, world's top 10 Bitcoin holders. Number 1 is Satoshi Nakamoto with 1.1 million. Grayscale, 643,000. Binance, 498,000. Bitfinex, 192,000. The U.S. government has 175,000. MicroStrategy, 152,000. Block One has 140,000. OKX, 118,000. Robinhood, 118,000. And the Winklevoss twins have 70,000. Okay, moving on. Shout out to iSocial 122. Right, XRP will be as foundational to the internet as HTTP, and I agree 100%. And I just can't wait until we get institutional adoption worldwide. It's going to be a beautiful sight. And speaking of institutional adoption, here we have ISO 222 again. Visa plus MasterCard November 2023 updates. And they are both indirectly partnered with Ripple, the company. Okay, moving on. Mr. Huber writes, he hopes history repeats itself, and he is talking about the one-word order where Judge Torres has denied the SEC's motion, and he's hoping to get the same one word denied for the interlocutory appeal, and so is everyone else. Okay, moving on. The digital asset investor writes, what a coincidence. They have both been working on tokens while Ripple has been tied up in the SEC lawsuit. And he's talking about here JP Morgan and Citibank, both working on making instant payments using digital tokens. Okay, moving on. The digital asset investor writes, in case you don't know what this is one thing that we never had. An ETHGATE whistleblower. Strap in. And he's talking about Stephen Nareov. And this is Stephen Nareov's tweet where he writes, it's agency-created law, whatever that means. And how exactly did Ethereum even satisfy this magical agency pixie dust? Is it possible that some people knew it wasn't valid when giving or advising on the speech and the state of Ethereum, perhaps even under oath? One would almost think. And then he hashtags William Heyman, Mark Berger, and Jay Clayton were sent to the SEC dugout for this very purpose, joined by career folks who helped execute the plan, like Valerie S., John Enright, John Daniels, and others. I'm sure this is all crazy talk, and everything isn't as it appears. Let me play the video.
Full decentralization, and that's what the Hinman speech, which tracks my memo pretty well, has come out and said. And the Hinman speech has generally said, okay, decentralization, we think, gets both Bitcoin and Ether out of securities law status. And sort of the way I positioned it in the memo was, that's kind of like a bookend. That's like an easy case. Like if it's fully decentralized, there's no real issuer, so it's relatively easy to test for a fully decentralized token.
It was just basically a Bill Heyman made-up test, a fifth prong of a Howey test that doesn't exist because the Howey test only has 4 prongs and they just made up a 5th one. So we hopefully will be getting to the bottom of this in the very near future. Okay, Ashley Prosper puts this thing out. When I first read the second Stephen Nareov post, I failed to acknowledge the significance of his use of the word treasonous That is a very serious accusation. And if Stephen has proof of this betrayal, it is his duty as an American to expose it. Empower, Jason Foster, Chuck Grassley, everybody over here has been tagged. Rest assured, the SFP Army has been and will continue to do its part to raise awareness, bring accountability, and balance the scales of justice. And yes, we will. Okay, moving on here. We had the digital asset investor. Hey, Tucker Carlson, why not cover the greatest financial scandal in history? Bigger than Madoff, bigger than Enron. And I would agree with that because I find Tucker Carlson to be a very good investigative reporter. And hopefully he will take a look into this ETHGATE scandal. Okay, here we have Stephen Nareff again on a tweet where he writes, former SEC chair was Joe Grunfest, who has integrity which seems out of fashion. As to the number, I now realize one can't tell the true number of ETH ICO buyers, as it was explained by some, how whales could disguise their large positions during the ICO. Violations of terms of service against speculative buying. Hard to imagine anyone at Ethereum doing this. And if they knew others who did, surely they would have told the SEC regarding concentration of ETH holdings before the Bill Hinman law was enacted. I might have the doc version by the author of the TOS amongst countless documents, recordings, etc., all stored in a number of locations. I may not have knowledge or items of importance given claims, or I exaggerate my role, though I guess it's possible I got some info if I was lucky enough to an important co-founder. Either way, I suppose an effective way to silence me would be to prosecute, publicly discredit, and ultimately attempt to imprison me. Turns out this is actually what happened to me for the past 4 years until I proved that the entire case was fabricated from the government's own documents, including the SEC.gov, and got an almost unprecedented dismissal with prejudice. The SEC.gov, the DOJ FBI joint effort, and oddly some familiar Ripple names amongst others, Mark Berger, John Enright, John Daniels. When I said dangerous area, I didn't suspect so-called friendly fire, traitors, and treasonous. To me, crypto and the country. Well, and that is a very strong statement. And here we had John Deaton responding to that. He writes, a long time ago, I put out a timeline of indisputable facts and authored the Ethereum Free Pass article published on Crypto Law US. That article and all the facts I shared didn't bring me new friends in the crypto industry. And he was labeled a conspiracy theorist for stating the facts. He goes on to say, I usually don't share private conversations, but I reached out to Stephen Nareff to see if he would come on Crypto Law US. I warned him, however, that unlike the SEC or Hinman, I would not give him a free pass on crypto law, as I would ask him the tough questions, such as he disguised whales and who must have made millions from it. I'll be honest, I assumed Nareff was one of them, and I warned him that if he came on my show, I wouldn't dance around the topic. He told me that he turned down the ETH offered to him, and that he actually spent his own money because he believed in what they were attempting to do. I said, bullshit. He then responded that I, of all people, should understand why someone would do something he believed in for free. Although I admitted that that was a good response, I remained skeptical. Under an agreement of confidentiality, he showed me proof of his claim, which involved emails with as high up the ETH chain of command as you get. At some point, I hope to have him on Crypto Law. And here we have Stephen Nareff that he responded, I have the map. So this is getting good. Things are getting spicy. And I just hope that the truth comes out eventually. You know, everything that was done in the dark comes to the light. And maybe we all can get our answers then. Well, okay, fam, that's going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash a like and to subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you much in advance. And the word is Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money, and your money in your mind. Peace out, fam.